Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome back to Season 2, Episode 1 of After Hours. Today we have a co-host guest, Saad Khan, and we have a special guest as well, Mr. Hussain. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Hussain. Actually, we put out a form for suggestions for Season 2, and the number one request was to have Mr. Hussain on, so thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here on the podcast. MashaAllah, you're a very knowledgeable person, and we hope that we're able to benefit from your time here.
Inshallah.
Okay, so can you tell us a bit about yourself and your background? I'm sure students know you, in the classroom, but outside of the classroom, who are you, hobbies, what do you do in your free time? Where you were born, raised, all that kind of interesting stuff that people might not know.
Okay. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. I guess I'll say some stuff, but you guys know, I share quite a bit in the class anyway.
Yeah.
Right? So in terms of, where I grew up and my background. So I was born in Pakistan, but my parents were actually living in Saudi at the time. Right? So, my mom just went to give birth and then she came back. So I grew up in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. And I went there, I went to the sort of British international school there, which, it's an international school and a lot of British expats go there. So in terms of schooling, when I moved to Canada when I was 13 years old, it wasn't too much of a culture shock, right? The education, the people you're around per se. I was around a lot of non-Muslims, so it didn't make that much of a difference. Mm-hmm. Okay, but otherwise, I grew up in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, which, to be honest, is a very sheltered upbringing.
Yeah.
Right, a very sheltered upbringing. You're not exposed to many different things. You mostly stay at home within a compound, and you don't really do much else besides that. Yeah. And
then you moved here. So you moved here when you were 13, so you did your high school here.
I moved here when I was 13, but I started in grade 10.
Okay.
Right. So I was a year early. So I started here in grade 10 at John Fraser Secondary School. Right. Did grades 10, 11, 12. Then went to McMaster University for 4 years. Then after that, a year after I graduated, I went abroad.
What did you study in McMaster?
Life sciences.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah. Is that what you applied to?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be broke, man. Yeah. We'll talk later.
Inshallah. Interesting. What kind of hobbies do you have? Things you do outside?
Yeah.
What do you enjoy?
This YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Hobbies. To be honest, what I spend my most time on outside of work, mostly my kids. I have online classes I teach outside of school, and then my weekend mornings are mostly just reading and research.
You enjoy
and
reading.
Writing. Yeah, I'm writing a book right now, right?
Mashallah.
I've been writing a book for the past few years, and it's been taking a long time to research, but alhamdulillah, last summer I managed to write about 2/3 of it, although the one book expanded into 3.
So you're writing 3?
Essentially, yeah.
It's like a series.
Yeah, I guess. But it became, from one book, it went into 3. What's it called? In terms of, so the reading and research I do on the mornings, weekend mornings, for about 4 or 5 hours. And then if I have to do marking, I get it done then too. And then recently I started going back to the gym, right? So trying to get back into powerlifting and stuff.
What gym?
Sky Fitness.
I don't know.
It's a lifting gym. It's behind LA Fitness.
He was expecting a lifetime or something.
No, man. Lifting people who lift don't go to these kind of gyms. You have to wait. The gym I go to has 11 squat racks.
Ooh.
I don't know what that is.
It's I mean, Lifetime has that many too.
Oh, it does? Really?
Yeah, Lifetime's a bit
interesting.
Is 11 a lot for?
I mean, it's quite a lot for the size of the gym. It's quite small.
Okay, I've been to the gym once before.
Yeah, I was
no worries.
Okay. So in preparation for this, we actually had a lot of students, obviously a lot of students wanted you on here, and a lot of students had some questions that they wanted to submit by video. So we're going to play that for you now.
Okay, you didn't tell me that.
Assalamu alaikum, mister. My question to you is, where did your love for Star Wars come from?
Whoa, love for Star Wars. So when I was a kid, I had no idea what Star Wars was, and when we were in Pakistan, we went to one of those places where they sell like bootleg CDs. Okay, like like ripped off of like the camera ones.
Yeah.
Right? So I got one that just looked kind of cool. It was Episode 1, the worst one, right? With the young small Anakin Skywalker. So I watched that, and basically I just thought it was awesome and kept watching it. And really poor quality. I watched it over and over again. Only when I got older, like I think only recently I watched Episode 1 again, like a couple of years ago, with the what's it called? Like your HD and whatever, not proper colors. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Mr. Hussain, where do you get your fashion inspo from?
Good question. Nowhere.
Nowhere.
Whatever I see in the closet, that's what I wear.
What when you are buying clothes or when you're putting outfits together?
Whatever fits, whatever I can order off Amazon.
You don't like shopping in person?
I do not like shopping, period.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
Mr. Hussain, can humans marry jinns?
So that was high demand.
Hard pass.
No comment?
I don't know. And I don't know if it's even possible, to be honest.
Not possible.
Not possible?
I don't know.
Hussain, I would love for you to tell us how your lovely experience with our class was for Islamic Studies first semester. Thank you.
The grade 11 boys.
It was terror.
Was it worse than us grade 9?
We were pretty tame.
That's tough. You weren't here grade 9 though.
Yeah, Hadi. Who's we?
Oh, grade 10.
Yeah, you weren't there.
Yeah.
No. That class, it's not only that class, but in general, last period is the hardest to teach.
Okay.
I do feel like my blood pressure goes up 10 points every single day in last period.
Yeah. From this class specifically?
This class was maybe 12.
Okay. And why is that? Do you have any like examples or stories you want to share?
Call out.
Specific incidents that happened?
Way too many.
Confrontation.
Way too many. And it doesn't help with the fact that when they crack jokes, I start laughing too.
Okay. So they're fun.
I want to control the class, and I try to, but then they crack a joke, and I'm like, man, that's funny. I can't stop myself from laughing as well.
Okay.
Salam, Mr. Hussain, I just want to know, what's your go-to pizza order?
Go-to pizza order?
Yeah.
What's your go-to pizza place?
Okay, you guys are going to hate me for this. Pizza Pop. The halal place.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
I know that,
okay, well, some people don't like it. That's
Yeah.
why. But there aren't really proper, decent pizza places in Mississauga, to be
No.
honest. Yeah, there aren't proper
yeah.
pizza places. My wife took me once to Blaze Pizza.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that place is so overrated.
Is it?
The LeBron James
yeah,
one?
Worst.
LeBron owns it, yeah.
So trash.
Was it?
That's, you know how you test a pizza place out, right?
Yeah.
How?
You get just like proper mozzarella sauce and basil leaves. That's it.
The margarita.
And that's how you test out like the proper margarita, right?
Yeah.
And that's how you test out how good the pizza is.
There's
Pizza
one new
always
one that
starts with
happened.
the crust, and I'm pretty sure Pizza Pop, even though it's just like one of those halal pizza places,
Yeah.
right?
Let's look at
I'm pretty sure Pizza Pop puts some sourdough in their crust.
It's
I'm
extra
positive.
good.
It has to be.
What's your order though? You just do margarita or?
Are you
Oh
a
no,
connoisseur?
for them, no. I usually get like tandoori chicken or something.
Okay.
So are you a pizza connoisseur?
No,
Okay.
I
It's
haven't.
like the
I have had good, really good pizza proper in Saudi when I was there abroad, and that was what showed me what pizza is. Like it's all about, and of course, like during COVID, watching Gordon Ramsay and all those like cooking and baking videos, and you realize, you know what? I've never had a real pizza.
Yeah. That was everyone then. Okay.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Hussain. It's your favorite student here, and I was just wondering if you could show all of us the Deadpool pose, and just keep in mind that saying no is never an option. Bye-bye.
Yeah, no was an option. I'm not doing it on YouTube.
We want to ask you a couple of the theoretical questions, and then we want to go into your perspective on studying abroad, science
Sure, go
education,
for
all that. First of all, we want to ask you, if you could be any fictional character, who would it be?
That's hard.
I don't know if you would say Deadpool.
I don't think Deadpool's the go-to for that.
Deadpool's not the go-to.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What if you won $10 million? What would you spend your money on? Like,
If money was no object.
Yeah.
If money was no object,
And
First
don't,
thing.
but not. Okay, actually, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can say
I-
whatever.
say whatever. Are you
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah, like
Whatever.
don't think
that's a good
about
idea.
don't think about building for the akhirah. Like think about it.
Don't forget about your kids.
Oh, I wasn't gonna say that. I was
Okay.
gonna say. I was gonna say get a house, pay off the car.
Savings?
Get a place for my parents.
Okay.
Ooh, that's important. Yeah.
Right. And after that, probably just spend the rest of my life in Turkey.
Okay.
That's fun.
We had
that's
Ms.
fun.
Zaini on. She was on about building wells in Africa and building a message.
I mean that too. Yeah. You gotta you first do stuff for yourself too.
Yeah. Living in Turkey, you said?
Turkey, yeah, Istanbul. I would love to move there, mostly because of how many scholars there are there now. Right? It's really, it really is. The closest you you can get to Jannah sometimes is when you're in the company of scholars and learning.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
If you could travel back in time to any historical event or time period, which would you choose?
Man, you guys remember I teach Islamic history, right?
Yeah.
That's a huge
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a
That's
large
a
span of
huge
time.
question.
We did our research.
I mean, it would have to be. It would have to be the time of the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I know it's
Sallallahu Alaihi
cliched,
Wasallam.
right? I know it's cliched, but it has to be that time because just to see him directly, because when you read about the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, you learn, for example, how he was able to convince people, and sometimes it was just because they looked at him or they saw him. Right? Abdullah bin Salam, who was the Jewish rabbi and who became Muslim. He used to live in Medina. When the Prophet ﷺ first came in to Medina, okay, and he was amongst all the Muslims who were surrounding him. So Abdullah bin Salam's at the back. He's not a Muslim yet, right? So he sees the Prophet ﷺ from far away, and he sees his face briefly appear, like you imagine, like between the crowd. And he describes it. It was like a silver coin. He describes his face like it was bright and radiant. And he said, "I thought to myself, this is not the face of a liar." I think just to have that experience of what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was like, what his character was like, would be so helpful. Because akhlaq today, you read it in books, you meet scholars, you try to understand what that akhlaq was like, that prophetic akhlaq, but there's no trade-off for seeing it for yourself.
What about another time period?
Anything on
Oh,
that's
that
a-
time period?
That's a time period. Is
Oh.
there a specific historical event
Like a
that you would
moment
want to?
in
Oh,
life.
I'd rather go to the future.
Oh.
Yeah,
How many
yeah.
years?
Huh?
How many years forward?
Would you really?
Whatever years they have spaceships.
Okay.
Not when your kids grow up and like no
No, we
that.
can skip that. I'll meet their inshallah their descendants. I just want spaceships, to be honest. I just want to sit there on something and go like engage. Right?
Okay. If you could have any superpower,
Flight, for sure.
flight.
Yeah, I think that's everyone, right? Flying.
I never thought of that. I thought about teleportation.
And I want telekinesis.
No, I think telekinesis is good.
Yeah,
Right? Just because you're lazy, right?
Is that
Yeah.
like reading
Instead of
people's-
walking over, just grab
Yeah,
it, right?
like-
Oh, that's
Yeah,
not
why
reading
not?
people's minds?
I think teleportation is too boring, though.
Yeah.
I feel like I could be
I
here,
feel
then
like
I
the
could
journey's
go.
like half the journey. Like if you're trying to go somewhere, right? The journey's the fun part.
Exactly.
It's like why would you want to?
So if you have flight, though, we're saying that you're not like lightning speed. You're
No.
you're
Not-
traveling the same speed as a car.
Not like flamingo speed, right? I mean like flight as in like able to cross over the stars and stuff.
Oh
like
no,
space travel.
Sure. Yeah.
That's another.
that
no.
would be included within flight.
Oh, I thought you meant just flight, as in like you
No,
flying from this room to the next at the same speed as someone walking.
no, not levitation.
From
that
class
would be
to the
levitation.
office.
That would be levitation. No, flight
Okay.
isn't actually like flying really fast.
Okay.
Yeah.
What you said? Telekinesis?
Yeah, telekinesis.
Is that not reading people's minds?
No, telekinesis is kinesis, the part you manipulate objects using your mind.
Yeah.
You're just lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of.
I mean,
it.
I don't
know.
Think about it. You're tired and you just want to just come here.
I would want invisibility. I think.
Why? What are
That's-
you
that's-
trying to hide?
That's sus, man.
Yeah,
that's
I
not
can
like- I don't think
anywhere I
that's-
want without anyone.
Yeah,
knowing.
invisibility is always sus. Why do you not want to be seen again? What exactly are you going to be doing?
I just feel like you can go anywhere.
No,
like,
you can't. Yeah,
breaking and
yeah,
entering?
if your clothes are off.
Yeah,
No, but I think teleportation because like, I guess if you're saying flight and you're going speed of light, then that's one thing. I guess that would be also. But you imagine you're just here and then you, like you said, you go to Saudi Arabia and have a pizza and come back.
Yeah, I don't want to teleport to Saudi.
No.
I'm done with that place.
Okay.
Anyways,
Oh, this seems political.
This is gonna be.
yeah, let's not get into
This
politics.
is gonna be a multi-part. Okay, and then if you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Ooh, cereal.
Oh,
What's syrup?
Vector.
we'll pop it on the screen, but I don't know.
It's my go-to.
Okay. Oh, Vector, like the healthy one has like greens and stuff.
It's
Yeah,
like-
but it tastes good too.
It's like
It tastes good.
unsweetened.
No, it is
like,
sweet.
it's sweet.
It's sweet,
It
but
It
is
has
it's
like
like,
a slight sweetness to it.
but it's not like
Granola
Frosted
and
Flakes.
stuff.
No.
Frosted Flakes. Are
When you get
amazing.
older, you can't eat that kind of sweet
Yeah.
stuff anymore, man.
I'm
you know, I
losing my
can't
sweet
eat
tooth.
fried chicken anymore.
Why?
And I just hate it.
Why is it too oily? Like sometimes,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
too
This
greasy.
summer
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
like I hated oil. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know, but I cannot eat fried chicken anymore.
Yeah, oil's repulsive sometimes.
Yeah,
I don't like
For me,
oil.
a lot of times, I just can't eat greasy food and fatty food.
Samosas.
Even that, yeah.
now, like, Ramadan.
One max, maybe.
What are you eating these days? Like, what's the go-to?
Well, I'm trying to be healthy, right? Going to the gym and stuff.
Mhm.
Trying to lose weight.
Mhm.
So eating is still not where it should be yet. The gym is going. Eating is not where it should be, but I just try to eat less and not have any like, sugary pop. Sugar basically is what I would try to control. Like, so that's not eating that much. Reduce saturated fat, reduce sugar, because that's usually where the extra calories come from.
Mm-hmm.
It's also
Mhm.
not good. And then adding fiber as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm getting old.
Protein.
Yeah, fiber.
What's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen a student do in class?
Oh God. Oh yeah.
Safe for work. Safe for work.
If he sees this, he's gonna know who he is. This is a while ago.
We hope
This
you
is
know
before
who you are.
No, this is before you guys were in school.
Okay.
So there was a student I was teaching, and I looked to my right. There's a student in the corner of the classroom lying on the floor on his stomach using his Chromebook. And I just turned. I'm like, what? Like, I was just so shocked. While I was teaching. No, while I'm teaching.
Like-
While I'm teaching, and then he's just lying on his stomach, like, behind the desk, so I can't see the teacher's desk, right? So, like, he's lying behind the teacher's desk on his stomach using his Chromebook with his feet up in the air. And I'm just like, what are you doing? I mean, I was so shocked. I'd never seen that before in my life. I've never seen it again after that either. It was the most incredible thing ever. But yeah, you see a lot of crazy stuff, right? Teenagers, when you get older, you're going to reflect back on your teenage years and realize you did a lot of stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And it's gonna hurt. You're going to wince. You're going to be like, oh my God, I did that. But you have to remember, like, we see it every day. We just get used to it.
How long do you remember these things for? I think it's bad.
Things like that I won't forget.
Core memory.
Sometimes they become so...
Like, you just recall them sometimes.
Yeah, I just recall them sometimes, or a lot of times they just they just go away because I see stuff every single day.
So you've become desensitized.
Yeah,
Essentially.
desensitized to madness.
Do you have
Wow.
another ridiculous thing you've seen before?
Another ridiculous thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to think about it, to be honest.
Okay, so we wanted to get into now. You mentioned that you were studying abroad. Obviously, you are an Islamic studies teacher here, so you studied Islam or Islamic education, teaching, all that kind of stuff. We have some questions about your perspective on studying abroad, and then whatever insights you can provide us with. So firstly, if you want to tell us about why you decided to do that, because you started off with life science, as you said.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you decided something in science first, but changed, or give us a bit of an insight.
So I'm
on
not
that.
sure if you guys remember, because you guys were, I think, grade 10, you were in COVID, right? It was lockdown.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys probably don't remember, because I'm sure you weren't paying attention to what I was saying, right? On Zoom. I still remember. Oh, that's the other one. That's if you mention a student doing something, right? Like we were doing class, and then like the student's looking at the screen, and very slowly his PS4 controller comes to the screen. Like, and I'm like, I can see it. I was about to say his name by accident, right? I was like, I can see it, right? And he's like, oh. He puts the PS4 controller down. So anyways, yeah. So I said this probably to you guys in grade 10. But I didn't have any plans to study Islam when I went to university. The plan was to go into medical school, etc. At least that's what my parents wanted from me, right? That's why I was in life sciences. And
You enjoyed sciences and you like that stuff? Biochemistry?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Not completely. But yeah, I appreciate the education now, but it is kind of useless without a master's degree of some sort.
Yeah.
Different kind of degree, not life sciences again, but something else. Life sciences degree, you can only go into research, or you can only go into med school, or now you can do other things too, right? You can be like a radiologist and stuff like that, those medical technicians.
Yeah.
That's if I had known about that track, I might not have left for Saudi.
So did you like leave school? Like dropped out?
No. I finished university.
okay.
I know. I have a. That's how I'm here. I have a degree, right?
Yeah.
I have a degree in life sciences. So, no. So you guys. So I might have told you a story in grade 10. Okay, that
Yeah.
when I was in my first year of university, I effectively left Islam for a bit. Okay, and then I started taking these courses in my second year about evolution, and it was called the Origins Institute at McMaster. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was like a minor that
Yeah.
you could do. And that one we did like the theory of evolution, and there's a whole course for cosmology, so Big Bang theory and all that sorts of stuff, the origins of the universe, the physics behind it, etc. And it was actually through that and a whole bunch of other personal things that resulted from me not being a good person, right? That I basically realized that I need to come back and make a serious effort to come back to Islam and back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at that moment, that's when there was some educational institution starting here. I took some classes with Sheikh Yasir Qadi. He used to come here to teach, right, on the weekends. Some classes he did, I did classes with him, and a bunch of other scholars used to come here. And that's how I got interested in learning Islam, and that became my main thing. Like, all I cared about was learning about the deen. I just found it fascinating, right? Those questions that I'd long looked for in cosmology and the evolutionary sciences, I was now finding there. And then eventually now, I'm a lot more into philosophy as well. So yeah, then after university, I graduated. And for a whole year, I couldn't find a job. This was right after the 2008 recession, right? So there was nothing out there. Like, it was really bad. I applied. I don't know if I told you guys this, but I remember still to this day, in 1 week, I gave out 80 resumes, 80, in person and online. Not a single response.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really tough market, right? It was a really tough job market. And there was a lot of people in my situation. It wasn't just me. A lot of people who had graduated were not finding work for a good year. So I remember I had been putting a lot of effort into it, stressing over it. And at that similar time frame, I started memorizing Surah Al Imran. Right? And there's a verse in there in which Zakaria alayhi salam asks Allah for a child. Well, sorry, he sees Maryam alayhi salam with some sort of rizq. Like, Allah's given her some rizq, some provision. And he says, Ya Maryam wa anna laki hadha. Where'd you get this from, right? And qalat huwa min indillah. That this comes from Allah. And then the next verse after that, it says, Hunalika da'a Zakariya rabbah. Right? That Zakaria alayhi salam is in an old age. And he's seen that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given Maryam alayhi salam rizq out of nowhere. And that's when he realizes that all his worrying and stresses about his rizq, his provision, they're not worth it, because rizq comes from Allah. So he turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him a child at a very old age, even though his wife is very old as well. She becomes pregnant, she gives birth, etc., and their child is also a prophet, right? So, at that moment, I just stopped applying to any jobs. I remember I've done my best, and I'm just going to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now based on this verse. And I think it was like a few weeks. And my friend from university, who I had not spoken to in years, randomly calls me up. And he says, my cousin is hiring in Saudi Arabia for a teaching position. Are you interested?
So you had a life sci degree at this point.
Yeah. So and I was hiring for an English teaching job. Okay, and I went to Saudi Arabia. Then when I was in Saudi, I wanted to study Islam, but I didn't know where to start. So I started studying Arabic. I'd already read enough in English. I used to read a lot in English as well, right, before I left. And when I was reading in English, I'd gotten to a point where I realized that I cannot go any further until I learn Arabic. So when I got there, I put myself completely into learning Arabic. Now, mind you, at this point, and I've told students this before, right? I actually did not know fully what I wanted to do in life until I was 23. And it was because I had never found out what I was good at. And alhamdulillah, it turned out I was really good at Arabic, to the point where like my own teachers would remark that, we've never seen someone pick it up as fast as you.
Like in speaking it fluently.
Speaking, not so much maybe, but more just like understanding it on a theoretical level, like the grammar, the sciences.
It's a really hard language.
No, it's not. It's not. I teach it now. I teach like balagha, which is like Arabic rhetoric and stuff.
It's hard, like the grammar and stuff, the Arab, all that.
It's not hard. It's not hard. You need a good teacher. That's what you need, right? So it's not hard. People don't teach it properly. That's the problem. So anyway, so I picked up Arabic really fast. Alhamdulillah, my teachers were like, you're really good at this, and I began to love it. And I realized that what I really want to do is I really want to go full into studying Islam. Now, my journey of studying Islam was mostly just private teachers. I was about to go to an institution, a university in Saudi. I decided not to because I could work and study at the same time, because I was married as well. I got married when I was 23. And that's the same time I kind of decided I want to go deep into this, right? So I was married at the same time, I was working, and I was studying, right?
Mashallah, you got married fairly young, 23?
Yeah,
Where, here or there?
Here, we came back. My wife's from here.
You met her here?
Yeah. So we got married at the age of 23. I got married at the age of 23. She's not 23. And she wasn't 23 at the time. We got married, I got married then, and I was studying at the same time. And I remember at one point, and this is just before I crashed, right? You guys know, like, I had like anxiety disorder. I got a few panic attacks. But at one point, I was working around 30 hours a week, studying 30 hours a week, and then trying to make time. At that time, I had my daughter as well, my first one. So I was trying to make time to be at home as well. And I crashed because of that.
This is all in 1 week, 30 hours a week, this 30 hours a week.
Yeah, it was insane. It was bad. I made a conscious, and I regret it now, but qadar Allah ma shafa, whatever Allah decides. But yeah, I made a conscious decision. I remember making a decision that I am going to allow my health to take a backseat. And that is not a good decision. I don't recommend that for anyone. You have to make sure your health is intact when you're doing stuff, otherwise you hit a brick wall. Right? You can only go as much as your health will allow. But anyway, so I made the decision, but my studies were all one-on-one, all with scholars one-on-one. Like what I have in terms of qualifications are ijazat, not degrees, right? So personal, my teachers gave me permission to teach the subjects or the books that they taught me. So yeah, that's how I got into it. It was a bit of, I wasn't expecting, it's like as soon as I got into Arabic though, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opened doors to teachers, and I made dua and hajj for teachers. I couldn't find teachers for a good year, like good teachers, strong teachers to study from. And I went to hajj, and at hajj as well, we also made dua for a child as well.
When did you do hajj?
I guess it would be around 2012.
So this was when you were how old?
20, around the same time. So maybe so it was around I think 1 year after I got married, 24, 25, something like that. Yeah. Alhamdulillah, I did hajj, very cheap in Saudi.
Oh, you were living there. Okay.
You were living there, right? It was really easy. Alhamdulillah. It was really easy. 4,000 riyals, that's how much it cost.
Wow.
Per person. Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, we were there like a month ago. Shawarma now is like 1,000.
No, 4,000 riyal hajj, and it was actually pretty decent. Alhamdulillah, we got it. And in hajj, I made dua for teachers and whatnot, and Allah opened doors. And also, we had a child as well.
Alhamdulillah.
So yeah, my studies were all one-on-one. And I think one of your questions was that your questions that were going to ask is how that affect my teaching.
Yeah, do you want to get into that?
Yeah, sure. I think it's very important because it did affect me a lot.
So do you mean, sorry for cutting off, do you mean having that one-on-one versus inside an institute or university? Yeah, so can you talk about that a bit?
So, might sound ironic as a teacher. Before I studied abroad, before I studied one-on-one with teachers, Islam and stuff, I actually did not like university. I did not like school. I just felt like it was not for me. Like I could not learn properly at school. Like I was just different, and I needed a different approach, and school could not give it to me. I was just not able to, and I thought I might even have it. I don't know. I thought I had some ADHD or something, right? I might have it. I don't know. Look for a diagnosis, but I could not just sit there and focus on lectures that I didn't care about. Sounds like you guys probably similar experiences, right?
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, with learning one-on-one,
but we're diagnosed.
Okay, so I probably haven't received my diagnosis yet. But here's the thing then, right? So I always thought my grades were not bad. Like, I used to get like mid 80s, right? They weren't bad, but they weren't like what my parents expected, 90s either,
Yeah.
right? But the thing is, I always thought, oh, it's because I'm dumb or I'm not that smart. But when I started studying one-on-one, the beauty of that is that things you find easy, you go through quickly. And things you find difficult, you take your time. And the teacher and you both regulate how fast the class goes. As a result of that, I realized how important learning is. First of all, how important the teacher is, right? And how important learning from a teacher is in a conversation. Like a lot of times, teaching we think of as, by we, I don't mean like teachers, right? Because teachers actually know what teaching is. But a lot of people think about teaching as you speak and then you leave. Or you give homework or work and you leave. No, teaching is a conversation, right? You have conversations with people. You have a conversation with the class. And, you know, that's why, like, you be yourself, right? You be yourself, you have a conversation, you study the material. And, you know, it's very important for it to be natural like that, because that's what teaching essentially is. You know, in the past, nobody had classrooms. This classroom concept didn't exist before public education. How people learn stuff, how children and others learn stuff, was talking to people. Talking to your elders, your grandparents, your community, your neighbors, etc. Right? That's how you would learn stuff. You'd learn from different people. So teaching, in a sense, has to be a conversation. It can't just be like a lecture and then walk out. So that's one way it really impacted me, because I did not thrive in a school environment. But after I went to this one-on-one style, I realized that I wasn't dumb and I could understand some really complicated things. In fact, one of the weirdest things that I realized about myself when I was learning one-on-one with teachers was that really complex and difficult things I could understand. Really simple things would just go over my head. And I'd be stuck there for like an hour or two on that page or that subject that my teacher's teaching me, and I just don't get it because it's just so simple. Right? So it's weird. So like, and I didn't know these things about myself until I went into that style of education, right? So I learned a lot about, and I was at the same time, I was also a teacher at King Saud University, right? In Saudi.
Were you
I was
teaching
teaching
English?
English, yeah.
What grade level?
So it's like kids who graduate from high school and then they're about to go into university, but they have to do this preparation year, right? I was there teaching English as a second language for about a year. And I've been, the whole time I was doing that. So I had the experience of my own education when I was a kid and in university. I had the experience of teaching in that style of university, and because of the place, it's very rigid and very controlled sort of education system. And then on top of that, I was having my one-on-one experience with my teachers, right? So I was getting I had different experiences altogether. So that's where I realized, cookie cutter teaching and whatnot, no, teaching has to be tailored to every single student. This is what is taught now as well, right? To teachers, that you have to make sure you cater to every single student. It's very hard when the class is big, but you have to try your best. So I try to make time for students, who want to have discussions and ask questions. You guys know that, right? You guys see me walking around and stuff.
Always,
So I'm always trying to make myself available for that, because I know the real learning happens in those moments, right? Like, you can go through an hour of class, not remember anything. I don't want to ask you guys how much you remember from my class, but I'm sure you remember better.
Crusaders.
But I'm sure you remember better individual conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah, like specific one-on-ones. Yeah.
Yep.
I recall those. Yeah.
I remember I got a text message notification once.
Yeah.
That's the only conversation I remember from your class.
What was the text? Oh, were you late or absent?
No. Like, my phone was on my desk, and the student in the class had texted me, and you were walking around, and you look at my phone, and you read the message.
Anyways,
I remember that.
So how did your learning, how you learned in Saudi and all that, influence your teaching style here, what you learned abroad and stuff?
Same thing. I tried to give attention to individual students, and I also realized the importance of sometimes just stopping the content, not going through. You guys always try to stall teachers, right?
Yeah.
Every teacher knows you're doing it, by the way, right? Just letting you know, teachers know you're doing it.
Yeah.
At least I hope. I can tell when students are trying to stall me. They start asking questions and stuff. But sometimes
you always give in, though.
Yeah. I give in.
Yeah.
Why? Because I think it's important, right? Because
Okay.
I think it's important to just have a conversation sometimes. Just have a talk. Just talk stuff. Just talk us. We just talk, have a conversation, have a discussion. I don't do, because sometimes yes, we have to get through the materials and like stop talking, right? We got to get through this. But a lot of times I give in mostly because I think it's important.
Yeah.
Right.
Most definitely. Can you talk about any research or publications that... Have you done any publications that...
Academic? No. Well,
No.
actually one, but I don't want to talk about it because it's back in the old days when I was in evolutionary sciences and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, I do actually have something published from there, but I don't share it. But in terms of... No, I don't have anything academic per se, but you guys know I have my blog and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which has a lot of stuff on how to study.
Do you want us to link it for you so students can see?
Completely
Slight
up
promo.
to you. Completely up
What
to
is
you.
it called?
It's called theusuli.com.
Okay, well, we'll pop it on the screen
Pop
and
it on the screen.
link will be in the
Okay.
description below.
Okay.
Check it out. Subscribe. What? So you already talked about what inspired you. So in school, then, what was your favorite subject? You said you got into philosophy after? Was it
Oh,
something?
way after, yeah.
Oh, so you were not as a child. It's not something that you know from a young age.
Actually, I used to. Pretty sure I used to think more than I should have, and throughout high school. Like, it's just
So
an
overthinker?
overthinker, right?
Yeah.
Overthinker. Yeah, I used to do that a lot. So I think getting into philosophy, I started getting into philosophy in university, but then I started following and understanding that it's haram.
Mhm.
So I stopped it and I basically went away from it. Then after I sort of learned Islam properly, I realized it's not exactly haram per se, and I got back into it again. But I know. But you know what happened? Calculus, for example.
Yeah.
I know this is too much exposure. I took calculus twice.
Why?
High
Because
school?
high school. Because the first time I took it, I didn't do well. And I just didn't get it. I didn't get what I was doing. But the second time I did calculus, I got like 95 or something.
Mashallah.
Yeah. But and then in university again, when the first year math at university was almost exactly the same thing, except they added, I think, like differentials at the end. Whatever. You'll figure that out. Or integrals.
No, I won't.
Oh
I
my
dropped it
God.
last week.
Oh, you So, but yeah, calculus, again, at university, it was my highest mark in my first year.
Mashallah.
Mashallah.
But despite that, I didn't get into math. I just celebrated.
Do you
my last
like math?
course. Now I do again, weirdly enough.
So you enjoy
I actually read
yeah.
a book over the winter break. I was reading a book about the history of philosophical and formal logic, and a good chunk of that was about math.
Interesting.
And actually, while I was doing it, I got so excited. I actually started looking up degrees in math. So yes, I'm boring like that.
Interesting. Can you tell us about a defining moment in your life that you felt shaped who you are today?
There's so many.
Mm-hmm.
One is definitely me turning away from my path towards atheism and coming back to Islam. That was a huge one, for sure.
So when you say that, just for people who
Yeah, what was
are
that
not fully
moment?
aware, what do you mean by turning away from Islam? And if you don't mind getting
Yeah, if
into
you want to
that.
get into that.
It's
yeah.
a bit personal,
Yeah.
That's okay if you don't want.
but let's just say that I said something to my mother. I don't remember what it was. I said something to my mother that made her really upset, and it really affected me, the fact that she was she started crying because of what I said. And it made me so sad and upset that I had become that kind of person that I basically just left the house for a walk in the middle of the night. I think it was like at 9 p.m. or something. And I remember just walking and thinking that, I was speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I said, you know what, I'm just going to turn my life around at this point. And I just basically, from there, I started praying my salah 5 times a day. So that was one huge event. But there's more that happened to me, right? Another one I would say was definitely that realization. I'm not sure when, but it was definitely somewhere in my studies where I just clicked that, man, learning Islam is very important. And I didn't know how important it was until today.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, it hit me quite late. Learning Islam was more of a passion, but I didn't recognize how important it was until I became a teacher, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And until when I was studying and teaching at the same time in Saudi, that's when that happened. So those were the two most defining moments. But that first one definitely is the big one. It's almost like I don't want to use like evangelical terminology, but it's almost like a rebirth, so to speak, right? You come back to something that is natural and normal. You should have been there before anyways.
So like your fitra kicked in.
Yeah, good.
Good.
Remember something from class.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Would you say that it was like one of the biggest obstacles you had to overcome?
What the I don't know if it's an
having to
obstacle.
navigate through that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I look back at that time and I don't think I was in control. Like, it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was too young. Like, even when you're 18, right? I was 18 at that point. Or
You're like
17.
our
When I went
age,
to
yeah.
university, I think I was
Yeah.
17. I was younger, right? I
Oh.
was 1 year behind, yeah.
Okay.
I was 1 year ahead, sorry. So, like, I think I went when in first year, I was 17. So I wasn't really in control. It was like I was 18 at that point, or 17, and I was really in control. I didn't feel like I was in control. Like, like at that point, when you're that young, a lot of what you do, like how old you guys are right now,
Yeah.
a lot of what you guys do is kind of the result of how your parents raised you. As you get into your early 20s, then you're going to start to be able to like make decisions, at least try. It's not always easy. It's not, you're never able to fully unbecome what your parents raised you as, right? But at the same time, you in your early 20s and mid 20s is when you decide, especially for guys, that I am going to actively change my life and make myself this kind of person, right? So I wasn't at that point yet. So I can't say that was I overcame any obstacles at that point. I think it just things happened the way they were meant to happen, right? Like, I didn't choose. Like, I can't change those choices. When you're a teenager, like, you do stuff.
For
right?
sure.
Yeah, you guys know that.
No, we don't, sir. We don't. Please don't say that.
Yeah.
This is completely off topic, but what are your thoughts on Andrew Tate?
This can be cut out.
Oh, no. I gave a talk at McMaster about this. About 200 people are in attendance on the talk.
Mashallah.
Wow.
No, but the thing is, are you gonna put this in there?
We
Depending
can
on what
keep
you
it out
say.
if you want. Like,
Okay, Andrew Tate he's a person who is discovering himself. I mean, he just came to Islam. Okay,
Yeah.
and he's going to go through stuff, and he doesn't know much about Islam. He doesn't know much about, to be honest, he's an MMA fighter who's also a businessman, whatever business that is, Allahu Alam, right? But, like, that's his realm of experience. And people go like, oh, especially young Muslim men and boys, I don't understand what the draw is, or, the fault is not with Andrew Tate per se, is with the people following him.
Yeah.
Right? Because what do you see in this person that we have so many male role models in Islamic history? Like, it's ridiculous, right? And in fact, those are the ones that get mentioned the most, right? The female role models, barely anybody mentions, right? The ones in Islam, we do have them in Islamic history, but people have written separate books for those because of how common the ones about males are, right? So, but the thing is, we have tons of role models. We don't need Andrew Tate, right? You have, for example, like Asad ibn al-Furat, one of Imam Malik's students. He was one of Imam Malik's students, a senior scholar of fiqh, and he led the army, the Muslim army that conquered Cyprus, and he died in Cyprus. His grave is there. I'm not sure if it's still there, but I'm saying he was buried there, right? Like, we have people like that in Islamic history. We have people who, men who did so much, who sacrificed so much, who went through so much hardship, and, we don't need that kind of person. Because Andrew Tate, people say, oh, now that he's Muslim, has your opinion about Andrew Tate changed? I'm like, no, not really. Because Andrew Tate is on a journey, right? And okay, he went from being a non-Muslim who speaks very vulgar and has drinks a lot of alcohol, all these sorts of things, and bad character, and you're watching him and you're considering him a role model. We went from there to the guy being Muslim and talking about Islam without knowing Islam, which is a different problem. They're still both problematic phases, right? And look, I don't know, you guys haven't heard me talk about this before, but I called out people following Jordan Peterson back in 2017. I was like, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Right? Because you guys don't know. You guys think he's super smart because, to be honest, you don't read a lot of super smart stuff. So you think he's like a legend.
We don't read.
No, I'm just saying, people,
Yeah.
you don't read.
We watch a couple
People don't read,
TikToks
right? Yeah,
and,
but you don't know what real intellectuality is. You haven't experienced it. So you see Jordan Peterson, you're like, wow, this guy's amazing. He's a scholar. He's the most intelligent person I've ever seen. No, your exposure to intelligent people is limited. Andrew Tate, the same way. You see him, you say, oh, this is a real man. He talks the real deal. He's a good representation of what I want to be as a male. But maybe you haven't been around real men, right? And you need to be around them. I'll be honest, I do powerlifting and stuff. I'm not saying this to defend myself from any accusation, right? But I've done powerlifting. I do it again now. And the one thing I've noticed again, I've completely forgot about this phenomenon, but the gym has some weird people in there, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like people who think that lifting is what makes you a man, or like that being
Strength and
cut and
brute, yeah.
strength or muscles is what makes you a man. And then you notice they have nothing else. Like, and there's not all of them, I'm saying, but there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
A lot of people like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't, a person, Andrew Tate's understanding, and of course, for guys again, for men, for boys, we have the greatest example of a man in Islam, which is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was at the front he was at the front of the battle, like right in front. The Sahaba said like he was the one who was right in the front of the sort of like the point where the two sides meet. The Prophet was right in the front, fighting valiantly and bravely in battle, right? And we know he was injured once during Uhud, right?
Yeah.
The chainmail sort of went into his cheek, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was fierce in battle. On top of that, he was someone who ruled over a small community, okay, and he was their judge, he was their teacher, he was like a scholar of the Quran, right? He was teaching the Quran. On top of that, he had his family duties, he had daughters, he had wives, and he would take care of them and have time for them. And on top of all that, he was generous, his akhlaq, everything. That is the example of a true man, the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? So no, we don't need people like Andrew Tate, and we shouldn't. And people. Unfortunately, the problem is that both young Muslim men and women, and even older ones sometimes, to be honest, we're caught up in this firestorm. And I'm teaching, philosophy grade 12 this year, and also, the other stuff we've learned in grade 10 and whatnot, right?
Yep.
This whole liberal conservative stuff, they're fighting against each other, right? And this is an artifact of Western culture and Western history and Western society, okay, the value systems and the history that they have and how their ideas developed, etc. That's their war, their ideological war. Islam comes from a different place, right? And it has its own views on all of these things. So whenever you take someone from that side and make them your representation of your position, you've immediately removed yourself from the Islamic paradigm of thinking about the topic, and you've gone into something else. So immediately what ends up happening is you set up a false sort of binary of us versus them. You're talking about the Western one, or the one in Western culture, right? Liberals, Democrats, red pills, feminists, whatever, right? Andrew Tate versus whoever is on the other side, right? You think you're talking about something Islamic, but you're actually fighting on a different battleground, right? You've left the Islamic way of looking at things. And a lot of times you'll notice people who are big fans of Andrew Tate, or people who promote him heavily or whatever not, right? Like a good chunk of them, vast majority, are not scholars, right? Like Jordan Peterson, for example, again, coming back to that example, my generation is more Jordan Peterson, right? Your generation is more Andrew Tate. Like Jordan Peterson, so many people found him so intelligent. He's saying things I've never heard before. Why don't scholars talk like this? And then he has this interview with the Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, and he was like, oh, Hamza Yusuf is so amazing. I'm like, yeah, he's been there for decades. Right? I mean, he's always been there, and he's always been saying amazing stuff. Sheikh Abdul Hakim Murad, for example, another one. Okay, you have so many amazing scholars, intellectuals, and you haven't been listening to them. But you thought Jordan Peterson was also that because you just followed the culture where it went.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right? So this is that's the whole. I gave a whole talk about that in McMaster. It was about an hour and a half, I think, or hour long, right? And I think it's important we talk about that because, we have so many male role models in Islam, even contemporary. I mean, to be honest, your dad is one of them, man. I don't want to put you in the light. No, your dad is one of them, right? I use your dad as an example in McMaster.
For what?
No, I'm like, because where I was making a joke, I was like, does it really matter how much you bench in order to be a man? And I gave your example of your dad.
My dad's never seen a gym in his
No,
life.
that's what I'm saying. Your dad's, I don't know if your dad works out or not, but I'm saying your dad's been to conflict zones, help people out medically, all these sort of things. I mean, and I made a joke in the thing, and I talk about Sheikh Yusuf al-Qardawi and others too, right? I'm like, are you saying these are not men? Of course they're men. These are men we should try to emulate, right? People like this. right? So you guys have a lot to live up to, by the way. A lot of
Alhamdulillah,
pressure.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But like, no, but seriously, right? I mean, like, I wouldn't go up to your dad and be like, doctor, how much do you bench, by the way? And if he doesn't bench, I'm like, yeah.
Do you even lift, bro?
Do you even lift, bro? Right? I mean, like, yeah, it's absurd, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then like, I don't ask him how much he lifts or, when was the last time, he meal prepped for the week or whatever. It's just, it becomes silly at a certain point,
Yeah.
right? When we fall into these sort of very generic descriptions of what it means to be a man or what it means to be a woman, right? These are not always so generic, and you find them reflected in our fiqh, and you find them reflected in our historical figures, that it's not always so simple, it's not so clean cut. And it's not to the extreme that it is in Western society either, that you can be anything you want either, right?
You
There's clear, obvious differences.
For sure.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not like what's today as well. So what's like, how we're doing it now, Muslims, especially the young Muslims, falling into this trap of, to be a man, you have to be this, and to be a woman, you have to be this. Right? It's a problem, unfortunately. But Allah Mustaan.
Namaste. We're getting close on time here.
Yeah.
But we want your kind of final thoughts, closing remarks,
Sure.
final advice for the students watching, parents watching, alumni at home, whoever's watching on our YouTube channel.
Yeah. Final advice. I noticed you had a question in there about the importance of studying Islam, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So since I'm an Islamic studies teacher, I think it's appropriate to talk about that as a final remark.
Yeah.
So I've made this remark a lot of times, many places, khutbahs, online, whatever, in class as well, right? It's very important we understand that, mashallah, you guys especially, you're going to go on to university, like, or college or whatever, you're going to go on to further studies. By the time you finish university, at least a bachelor's degree, you've been studying about the dunya for roughly how long? I think what was the estimate? It's like around you start when you're 14 years. Roughly 13 or 14 years, 13 years by the end of high school, 17 years by the end of university or college. Wow. You've been learning basically about the dunya.
The Matrix.
Sure, right? The Matrix, yes. Well, how many of those years have you spent studying Islam though? Right? And that's why when you don't spend, and of course you guys are different because you guys did Islamic studies here and stuff. I'm talking about the majority of people, right? Majority of Muslims out there.
Yeah.
When you have that limited exposure to your faith, or the teaching is not good, okay, it's not strong, or you don't retain it, or you don't review your stuff or whatever, not 13 or 17 years versus 1 year of learning, what do you think is going to happen? Oh, you guys recalling how much you forgot now?
He is.
Wait, what?
I recall a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
But like, it's like 13 to 17 years you're going to study, right? And 1 year of Islamic studies means what? That's not
even 1%.
You know so much about the dunya, but you barely know anything about your faith. I know people who leave Islam in their 30s. I've known people left Islam in their 30s, 40s, and because eventually it catches up to you. That you can isolate yourself in Islamic school, you can isolate yourself in your culture, whatever not, in your masjid, right? But eventually, at a certain point, you're going to be asking yourself questions that other non-Muslims or people who don't know your faith around you are asking you. You're going to start asking those questions to yourself. And you need to learn them before you get asked those questions. You need to know your deen well. And this is why, when I was in, I guess you could say another inspiration, briefly I'll mention this, right? When I was in Cairo, and I saw the Al-Azhar high school curriculum, that was when I realized, oh man, high school kids can do a lot more than I thought. I mean, grade 12 physics and chemistry and biology and all these subjects, they're advanced courses. Right?
Yeah.
There's some really serious stuff you guys learn there, right? Now think about that. Why should your Islamic studies classes then be like, prophet stories all the time then? Oh, your Islamic studies courses should be pretty intensive as well. You guys are capable of learning a lot, and you guys know that. I did that with you guys, right?
Yeah.
And you guys understood it for the most
It was
part.
pretty simple, yeah.
It's straightforward, right?
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how you teach it. So you guys, the Islamic studies is always going to be important. You need to maintain your ibadat. You need to maintain your salawat. Very important. But also you need to keep learning your deen, because if you don't, then slowly the atmosphere, the environment, and also that all that dunya you've put in your head is going to overtake you. And eventually the dunya feels more natural than the deen. A lot of people happen to that. I'm talking about people like people in university in their 20s, 30s, 40s. People leaving the faith. Because eventually it catches up to them.
Happens.
Yep.
Perfect. Actually, one last thing. I was
Sure.
at the library like 2 days ago, and you asked us what we were studying, and I said business, and you told me a waste, and you walked out right away. So I just want to understand. You want
Here's the
to
confrontation.
explain that quickly, just because, like,
For you?
are you? I'm a waste, or like
No,
university's a waste, or
Look,
what do you meant specifically? Because I was kind of confused.
you definitely have that business acumen around you. Like, you certainly, like, if anything, you can probably make a better politician, to be honest. But you definitely have that very.
I
like,
can't read.
Oh, anyways, well, you'd fit right in, wouldn't you? So, like, businessmen, right? I mean, like, you definitely have that, personality in which you would excel in doing business. But is studying business that worth your time? I mean, you could easily do an MBA. You could do something else first.
Yeah.
Right? I think running a business for you would be awesome.
Okay.
If you could do that. That's my personal advice. You can take it or leave it.
Yeah, I just want to, because you just like waste and then walked out. I was like,
No,
oh.
I meant business. I'm in business. I'm in business.
Perfect.
I think you're capable of so much more.
I appreciate
Both
it.
of you guys,
Jazakallah
mashallah.
khair. Thank you so
Right?
much.
Both of you guys.
Thank you so much. Let's look at the cameras now. Thank you so much, Mr. Hussain, for being on our first episode of Season 2. Thank you, everyone at home watching. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode and learned something insightful and, keep thinking about the wonderful things that Mr. Hussain said. We appreciate your time. Inshallah, we hope to have you on soon again. It's been a very insightful, interesting episode.
Yeah. And we'll close off right here. All right, guys.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. We'll see you guys on our next episode. Assalamu alaikum.
Is that good or what?
That was
It
amazing.
feels so weird talking about
I could hear myself, and I was getting self-conscious about how I sound.
it. No, what was that good or? It was good. Yeah, it was good. How long was that?
Um,
Oh shoot, how long?